Today's episode, I hope, is pretty fun. It's a little bit different because today it's not a solo show. I'm not bringing on a data expert. I'm not bringing on someone who recently landed a data job. I'm bringing on someone probably just like you who is trying to land their first data job, who's in this career pivot currently right now. I thought it'd be an interesting switch up, an interesting perspective to maybe like hear one of the people who are in the war trenches with you, who are going through the exact same thing that you are right now. So I brought on one of my students. His name is Vincent. He's about halfway through the Data Analytics Accelerator bootcamp. He'll give you a little bit about his background, but basically he's been in mortgage lending. He now manages a pizza restaurant, which I think is super cool. And I love pizza. It's my favorite food. And we just kind of talk about his journey, what got him interested in data, what he's currently working on, what's working, what's not working, and what the future holds. So a little bit of a different episode today, but I think you guys should like it. Let's go ahead and get into the episode.
Welcome to the Data Career Podcast, the podcast that helps aspiring data professionals land their next data job. Here's your host, Avery Smith.
So Vincent, where are you located?
So I am in Michigan.
Okay, and what do you do now, and what have you kind of done in the past?
Yeah, so previously I was a mortgage banker. I absolutely loved it. I got to speak with clients every day on the phone. Sometimes it was a lot, 500 phone calls a day, but I really liked it because I was able to help people. I was able to lower people's payments, especially in the time right when COVID hit. Interest rates were very low, so I was able to, lower people's payments significantly. However, after the economy started to take a little dip and interest rates started to rise, wasn't a lot of business going on there because no one wants to change their 2% or 1% interest rate to a 7%. So hopped out of there. And awesome thing is my uncle and my mother own a pizza place. So from mortgage banking, I went and worked at my family's pizza place and learned the ropes there, and I'm managing it for my mother now, so she can kind of have a retirement for the time being.
That's awesome. So why did you want to kind of get into data analytics? What led you down this road of trying to become a data analyst?
I, at one point in time, was watching many YouTube videos in a day. I wanted to figure out what I could do with my degree. I have a pretty general business degree, and I know I loved working with computers. I know I loved working from home because I've done it in the past when I was a mortgage banker. So I was just trying to figure out what I could get into. And I came across the YouTube channel by a gentleman named Justin Shin. He is a data analyst in, I believe, Massachusetts. He works for a healthcare analytics company, and he makes these day in the life videos. And he made some videos about how he visited his friends in, I want to say, New York, and he was able to work from home, go to the gym, and do everything from wherever he wanted. And that kind of sparked my interest. I thought, wow, I knew remote jobs were a thing from COVID, but I didn't know that it was that beneficial and that, that free to do what you wanted to do and, go throughout the United States. I just thought that was awesome. And then the work that he also did, it incorporated computer work, and I just fell right in love. And so I started kind of searching the internet, seeing how to become a data analyst. And of course, the Google career certificate popped up first. When I figured out that there was a course for it, I bit right away and I started taking that course.
So it was really like the lifestyle, the ability, the freedom, ability to work when you want, where you want, type of a thing, and do exciting work that really drew you into the analytics field.
Most definitely, yes.
Okay. Then you start doing the Google search. And how was your experience with that?
So in the beginning, I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie. It had, just the videos were intriguing. I liked the information, and it taught me a lot. But then what kind of, because I didn't finish it, what kind of turned me off from it was I started going back online after a couple videos, and I wanted to know, is the Google certificate enough to get me a job? Because it kind of seemed a little bit surface level. The information that I was learning was good, but I still didn't feel like I was ready to jump into a career for it. I felt that there was something more that I needed to learn. And so as I started searching around, I was in my car one day and I thought maybe there's a podcast for data analysts that I could, data analytics that I could listen to. And thank God yours popped up first thing. So I clicked on your podcast and I started listening to what you had to say, and the professionalism that I heard and your experience that I could tell from your guests as well as yourself. I knew that that's probably where I needed to go to learn more, to scratch that itch that I needed to feel comfortable to go into the industry.
That's super cool. It's always fun to hear when people find the podcast and how they find the podcast, because it's so interesting. I'm glad that the Data Career podcast popped up when you searched. Do you remember what episode you listened to first? I know that's a while ago now, and you've
Oh
probably listened to
man.
a lot of episodes, or anything that stood out. I guess it was interesting to hear some of the guests.
Well, one thing that really surprised me, I think it's episode 4. The guest on that episode sounds exactly like one of my friends. They have identical voices.
Oh,
And so
really?
I was like, you guys got to listen to this. It sounds exactly like my friend Pat. And so that kind of made me listen to more and more episodes, but I don't think that was the first one that I heard.
That's so funny. It's also interesting to hear people, they'll go start with episode 1, which is one thing that's great about the podcast, is it is quite evergreen. But now it's like I couldn't even tell you what episode 4 was. Like that was such a long time ago. I don't remember what the heck I said. But anyways, that's awesome. Okay, so you're listening to the podcast and you probably hear me talking about the SPN method, and that gets you like, oh, okay. So the Google data cert, is great. It has skills, and that's definitely something I need. But I also probably need a portfolio and some networking and some job help and stuff like that. Is that kind of what was going through your mind?
Most definitely. What really drew me in was the analogy that you used, where you have an actor who can show you a video of jumping over a car or a resume of them saying that they can jump over a car. Who are you going to pick? That right there really just got to me, and I actually went right to your website after that and started reading more, and I think I got the course the next day.
Sweet. Okay. You're like, okay, I want a little bit more help. I like this guy that's talking on a microphone on the podcast. I really understand the importance of having a portfolio. For those of you who haven't heard me tell that analogy, it's basically like if you were hiring for the movie Fast and the Furious 10 and you need a stunt double and you got two applicants, one sent in a resume and underneath skills says they can jump over a car, and that's like really needed for Fast and the Furious 10, right? And the second person, had a resume and the skill section said can jump over a car, but then also sent a video of them jumping over a car. Who are you more likely to hire? It's probably the second person, right? Because they gave you the evidence that they can do what their resume says that they can. And that's the same thing in data analytics. You can say that SQL, Excel, Tableau, Python, whatever, but can you show it off? And always showing is more powerful than telling. So you really like that concept. We talk about that. That's like the whole point of the bootcamp is we do, 10 unique projects that will get you a portfolio that'll showcase all of your skills, and you join. And I guess when you first joined, what was like, did it match your expectations? Like, was it weird the way that anything was laid out, or how did that go?
I was very impressed by how intuitive and user friendly it was. I honestly thought it was going to kind of be just not as put together as it was. It kind of goes in a perfect structure. So you start off with a lesson that teaches you let's say for SQL, for example, you learn about the clauses or the functions that you're going to use, and then it gets into the project. And then after you work through the project, then it gets into the networking portion of the SPN method for every single module. And so that's awesome. Not gonna lie, to begin with, the SPN method, I focused on the S at first, and I was like, I understand that portfolio and networking is important, but it's got to be skills that gets you there, And then I didn't really focus on the networking portion of it as much. And then as I started to apply more and more to jobs, what is it called? Rapid fire? Spray and pray. Spray and pray.
Spray
I
and
was
pray.
spraying and praying. And that's when I learned that every single letter of the SPN method is very important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a good point that each one of the modules, the 10 modules inside the boot camp, I try to teach a skill, we do a project on that skill, and then we incorporate some sort of networking activity. So that way we try to split the modules a third, a third, a third with that SBN. And like you said, like sometimes learning is so fun and learning data things is so fun. And so that's where we want to focus our time. And honestly, it makes us feel good as we're learning these data skills. You feel like you're progressing, but it's important to remember that, I mean, of course, learning is progressing, but really our end goal is to get a data job. And if we just learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn, we're never actually going to get a job. Like you have to do some sort of applications and networking and portfolios and stuff like that. So that becomes really key. I want to ask you about the community because it's really interesting. I've been a part of, when I was breaking the data, a lot of this stuff didn't really exist. Like there wasn't a whole lot of communities. Now there's a lot of different data communities. I don't know if you're a member of any communities outside of our bootcamp community, but it's a little bit different because like a lot of like outside communities have thousands of people in them. They're free. They're open to the public, and stuff goes on in those communities. Ours is only for our bootcamp members, so it's only a select few people that are actually in there. So it can be quieter from time to time. But what are your thoughts about the community? Like, was it
Oh
scary
man.
posting in there? Were people helpful?
No, everyone is so awesome in the community. They're so willing to help as well. I just want to shout out Trevor Maxwell. He's awesome. I mean, anytime I need help, I can actually text him personally to his phone and he will respond anytime. And that goes for everybody on there. I feel like you can message anybody and they're willing to help you with anything. I mean, I had a question about how someone did their portfolio, their website so awesome. I saw their website and I was like, man, how did you do that? And I just sent them a message, and within I think 20 minutes they responded with the whole instructions on how to get what they did.
I think it's always nerve-wracking to like be in a community and like, what do I say? What are the standards? Can I do this? Can I do that? And so it's always a little bit awkward maybe to start, but then eventually I think people are really quite helpful and quite nice, especially on that individual one-to-one basis can be really powerful. And just even having like those confirmations of like, oh hey, you're doing this right, or like if you're stuck, oh yeah, I dealt with that error, like this is how I overcame that error. That stuff is so priceless, because doing data on your own, doing data in general is, breaking data is hard enough, but doing it by yourself is even harder. So if you're able to have like a community to rally around you and to help you when you get stuck or when you get dismotivated or where you kind of lose momentum, I think that's really key.
Yeah, and another awesome part about the course is that when you're working through the modules, under each lesson that you do, there's comments. And if you take a little bit of time to read those comments, let's say you wrote an Excel function one way and it worked for you, you can actually read those comments and see how someone else did it to get a slightly different result and see how they were able to answer the problem as well. And you learn a lot faster that way too, just getting multiple different viewpoints, which is phenomenal. I spent many hours looking at comments to see how did they do that, and then I learned new functions and new things just from that.
Yeah, I've thought about moving. This is kind of in the weeds, but I've thought about moving the course from our current course hosting platform to a different one. And I'm like, one of the things we're going to lose is all of that gold that's in those
Yeah.
comment sections of like, just like past travelers, giving you their 2 cents on like, oh, I have this, Mac and it didn't work quite the same. One of the hardest lessons or modules, in my opinion, it's actually like technically the easiest module, I think, but often proves quite difficult is the Excel module, just because Excel in like a Windows operating system versus a Mac operating system is quite different. And then also everyone has a different version of Excel. Some have Excel from like 2007 and some have like the brand new updated one. Some people have the free one, some people will pay for it. So it's like there's so many little nuances between that. And that's where like the comment section, I think, can be really valuable, because we try to capture as many things as we possibly can, like as instructors, but it's like, you can't always get every combination of operating system and Excel version to actually, work.
I did read a lot of those comments as well. They were able to find solutions for the people that do have Mac. So that was awesome to see how the community, reaches out and helps those who may have trouble.
For sure. So you've been in the program for a while now. Where are you in the program? Like where are you at right now?
So I just finished module 5 and posted my healthcare analysis.
Okay. So you're done with module 5, and so that means you have 4 posted projects, 1 in Excel, 1 in Tableau, and 2 in SQL now.
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel like you have more of a portfolio than when you started?
100%. 100%. And actually, even though I'm not even finished with the course, I have recruiters reaching out to me right now just from what has been built from module 1 till now
Do you
in
really?
module 5. Oh, yeah. I think about maybe I've had 2 interviews and let me think about 3 or 4 recruiters reach out to me.
That's awesome. You've done, and that's my next question. I was going to ask, like, do you feel like you're networking better? But I can answer that for you because I've seen your posts on LinkedIn. You're sharing your journey as you go on LinkedIn and kind of talking about like what you've been learning, the ups and the downs of it all. And I think that pays dividends down the road.
Another thing that I wanted to share on the podcast here is I know that there are a couple people in the course that do work in the food industry as well. Oh man, food industry is such a phenomenal place to network. I mean, at the pizza place, I cash out customers. That's my main position. So I'm talking with people all day. Just 2 days ago, I saw a guy. He walked in with a Ford badge and just thought to spark up a conversation with him. And I got to send him my resume and connect with him on LinkedIn. And then 3 days ago, a software developer came in from a consulting company. I struck up a conversation with him just because I saw a backpack on his back, and I said, laptop in his backpack, remote work. He's probably into something. So I just struck up a conversation. But I had around, I don't know, 6 or 7 opportunities just from that alone. Just going out of my comfort zone and speaking with people is such a great way to get your name out there and show your passion, get more eyes on you. Because that's one of the biggest things is getting eyes on you. Because if you do projects and keep them in your computer, they're not helping you out at all. So, and that's something that your course taught me was, you know, if you do projects and no one can see them, who's going to know that they can hire you? No one's going to know that you can jump over the car.
Yeah.
You got to put it out there.
I love that. And I love that you're networking, outside of LinkedIn. A lot of times people are like, yeah, I can't network. And it's like, okay, I'm sure there's circumstances where that's true, but a lot of the times it's honestly just a little bit of an excuse because it makes you uncomfortable. I'm never going to say networking is ever fun. I teach about it and I actually kind of hate it. Like I just don't really like it. So it's so cool that you're like, yeah, a lot of people will be like, well, you're working at a pizza restaurant. Like how much networking can you do? And you're like, no,
Wow.
watch me. Like I'm going to do the best I can in the circumstances I'm in. So I think that's awesome. And I think that'll pay dividends. We're a couple minutes into this podcast now. I guess I should specify that this is a lot of the times I have people on the podcast who have landed a day job. You haven't landed a data job yet, but I wanted to get someone's perspective who is still in the program, still going through everything, and who hasn't landed a job yet. Because I think multiple reasons. One is because like it's always good to show, like, social media can always show the flashy side of life. Like it's always our highlights. But I think it's unrealistic sometimes. And so I think it's so fascinating to kind of get a glimpse of you in the trenches right now, working through these problems of like, how do I'm doing the spray and pray method where I'm just sending out hundreds of applications and I'm not getting any results and it sucks. So I realized, okay, I have to network more. How do I network more? When someone comes in, they see their name tag with the badge. I'm going to ask about it. I'm going to be like, do you know any data analysts at that company? And so on and so forth. I think that's so fascinating. These kind of stories from the trench of you working through this, actively right now.
Yeah. I mean, when you're trying to get a position in data, like you said, it is very difficult. So any direction that you can claw your way forward toward, I would do it. I networked with the people within the pizza place. And then I also watched, or I can't remember if it's a video of yours or a podcast where you talk about how get to know, or no, it's actually a lesson in the course. Find a company that you use on the daily basis, look them up on LinkedIn, go to people, see who's a data analyst at that company. I did that with so many of the regular everyday things that I use. For example, I don't know if you know what Remarkable is. It's that notebook, the digital notebook.
Yes,
Super
yes,
cool. I
yeah.
was like, I'd love to be a part of that. Looked them up on LinkedIn, looked up the people, who's a data analyst, got in touch with the head of data analytics and connected with him on LinkedIn. I think all the jobs are from Norway, but at least I tried, I go to the gym, and I don't know if you know who Jocko Willink is, but
Yeah.
he has a line of awesome products. I went to their LinkedIn and did the exact same thing, and sure, I didn't get any responses, but like I said, at least I tried. And, those reps will just get me closer to the end goal of finding someone that sees my passion and getting a job.
And I love your attitude towards all of that because I really believe in the SPN method. I really believe in networking. But I think sometimes people think it's a magical pill. And maybe it's my own fault from the way I'm like, yes, networking is amazing and it's awesome. But it's like a pill that you have to take over and over and over and over again before you see results. This is probably TMI, but I'm losing my hair. So I'm taking hair loss pills. And like, gosh, those pills, I tell you what, you take one of those things, they do jack squat. And I keep talking to my doctor and they're like, yeah, you have to take like 6 months of them. And it's like, okay, is this actually doing anything? I don't see any results. And I think that's how networking is too. I don't know if I want to keep that analogy or not, but there you go, podcast listeners. There's the analogy of the hair loss pill networking because it takes a long time and it's frustrating. And I'm sure you've experienced some of that frustration.
Yeah, what is it? I'm not a baseball fan, but the Detroit Tigers, Cabrera, a great batting average is, I don't even know, honestly, but it's not very high.
No,
you know,
it's like 33%. It's like a Hall of Fame career for baseball.
yeah. And I'd say it's less in data analytics.
It is less. It is
But
less.
when you do the things like I said, and like you say, and you try to claw yourself forward, no matter what it is, and you showcase your passion for it, people will see that. Recruiters will see it, and they'll reach out to you most definitely.
I love that a lot. Any other like random things in the boot camp you really enjoy? Like any like thing that like people might not realize that like is inside of the boot camp?
Let me think. Oh, I mean the interview simulator. You just did that. That was awesome. And there's a SQL workshop. I actually haven't even touched those yet. So those are some cool things that I'd like to look at, but I don't really know much about them. I know that just when you get the course and you're doing the course, there's supplemental resources that you have access to that will help you to succeed in your job hunt, most definitely. I did look at the interview simulator. It looks real cool though.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited on that one. Yeah, there's quite a bit. It's kind of a tough question because there's like I was just looking. We have 327 lessons in the data analytics accelerator alone, and then yeah, once you join the accelerator, you get like the data projects book. You get access to interview simulator stuff. You get access to a couple other things. So yeah, there's quite a bit going on. Anyways, there's a lot, and there's a lot to take in. And I also recognize that people are really busy with all the stuff they have going on. So that's one of the challenges I have is and actually like if you look at like other boot camps, a lot of the times they're like 6 months and we're trying to do it in 3 months, right? Or they'll be like a year long. And so it's like, how do we give you guys as much information as possible, but not so that you can succeed, but not overload you and give you too much stuff where it takes too much time, right? Because we want to be fast. So it's kind of a balance of like, for instance, we don't teach all of Python. Like we hardly touch on Python. And that's my favorite data tool. I honestly sometimes feel like trapped in a little cage where it's like, I love Python and I wish I talked more about Python and I wish I taught Python more, but I don't think that's what's best for the majority of people. So anyways, it's like a weird balance of like providing enough stuff without overwhelming and making it too long too.
Yeah. Luke Baruch put out that, what is it called? The website that he has to
Oh
show the,
yeah, datanerd.tech. It's like all of the job statistics about like what skills you should learn and stuff, right?
yeah, and SQL, a visualization tool, Tableau, Power BI, and Excel. Python is, I believe, the top for data science, But then data analytics, it's SQL. So knowing SQL, Tableau, or Power BI and Excel, I think, is a great key to get your foot in the door. Like you said, get paid to learn. Don't just learn forever and never get paid for it.
100%. Okay, Vincent, I am excited for you. I'm excited because the podcast listeners have not heard the last from you, and we're going to have you back on in hopefully soon, but whenever that is, we're going to have you on when you land that job, and we can update the world on what ended up working for you, what steps you took. But thank you for being brave and, coming on the podcast and talking about your experience in the boot camp and how it's been so far. If you're listening to this and your company's hiring, Vincent would make a great addition to any of your guys' teams. As you can tell, he speaks eloquently. He's hardworking and he's a smart guy. So we'll have his LinkedIn also in the show notes down below. You can reach out to him and ask him any questions. You okay with that, right, Vincent?
Most definitely. Talk to me about anything data.
Yep, sweet. You guys haven't heard the last from Vincent. He'll be on soon.